Hello and welcome to the e-module on Lockout Tagout Part 2. Let's take a look at the learning objectives of this e-module Lockout Tagout Part 2. At the end of the e-module, you will be able to understand about LOTO programs, explain the purpose of documented procedure for LOTO, describe the compliance with this program, list the types of isolating devices, list the different equipment used for LOTO. Explain the procedures and precautions for LOTO. Explain how to remove a lock. List the frequent mistakes. Identify the causes of injuries. Understand the common misconceptions. Explain the startup procedure. Understand the flowchart representation of LOTO. Understand the impact on business of following LOTO programs. As mentioned in part 1 of this module, during normal operation, guards must be in place to protect employees from contacting, moving, or dangerous parts of machines or equipment that could lead to entanglement, amputation, or laceration and pinching, pinning, crushing, or other injury. However, it may be necessary to remove or inactivate guards during maintenance and repair operations. In these situations, a lockout or tagout, that is LOTO program, must be observed, which typically includes development and implementation of written, equipment and task-specific LOTO procedures as well as other program requirements. As a general rule, specific procedures must be documented for each piece of equipment subject to LOTO. Written procedures are not required if all of the following conditions are met. The machinery or equipment has no potential for stored or residual hazardous energy or reaccumulation of stored energy after shutdown. The machinery or equipment has a single energy source which can be readily identified and isolated. The isolation and locking out of that energy source will completely de-energize and deactivate the machinery or equipment. The machinery or equipment is isolated from the one identified energy source and locked out during servicing or maintenance. A single lockout device will achieve a locked out condition. The lockout device is under the exclusive control of the authorized employee performing the service or maintenance. The servicing or maintenance does not create hazards for other employees. There have been no accidents involving the unexpected activation or re-energization of the machine or equipment during prior servicing or maintenance. Please note that while written procedures are not required if all of the above conditions are met, all mandatory LOTO steps as previously discussed must be completed in the prescribed order. Well, you have learned under what conditions documented procedures can be waived off. Let us now see the purpose of documented procedures for LOTO. A LOTO procedure establishes the minimum requirements for the lockout of energy isolating devices whenever maintenance or servicing is done on the specified machine or equipment. It shall be used to ensure that the machine or equipment is stopped, isolated from all potentially hazardous energy sources, and locked out before employees perform any servicing or maintenance where the unexpected energization or startup of the machine or equipment or release of stored energy could cause injury. Let us now see the compliance with this program. All affected and authorized employees are required to comply with the restrictions and limitations imposed upon them during the use of lockout. Authorized employees are required to perform the lockout in accordance with this procedure. All employees, upon observing a machine or piece of equipment which is locked out to perform servicing or maintenance, shall not attempt to start, energize, or use that machine or equipment. Failure to adhere to this procedure may result in injury to personnel or damage to equipment and may result in severe disciplinary action in accordance with existing policies. All affected and authorized employees must receive LOTO training, including procedures specific to their work. Let us now see the steps to effectively accomplish a LOTO state. There are 12 steps to effectively accomplish a LOTO state. They are: identify hazardous energy, communicate, shut down, isolate, apply LOTO device or devices, relieve stored energy, verify, service, inspect, remove LOTO, communicate, restart. Each step must be accomplished in the stated order and captured or described in a written LOTO procedure. All affected and authorized employees must receive LOTO training, including procedures specific to their work. Let us now understand the various types of isolating devices. There are 3 types of isolating devices, namely energy isolating device, a lockout device, and group lockout device. Let's take a look at each of these in detail. An energy isolating device physically prevents transmission or release of energy, such as an electrical circuit breaker, a pipeline valve, a machine block, anything else that positively blocks or isolates energy. A lockout device is one that positively prevents a machine from being started up or turned on, prevents a machinery part from moving, prevents electrical energizing, blocks a pipeline, steam line, or air line. Group lockout devices are used when more than one person doing maintenance or repair on same machine or equipment. Machinery or equipment can't be started up until all locks are removed. Each person places and removes their own lock. The different types of equipment used for the lockout tagout procedures are scissors, tags, blanks, covers, chains, lockout box or boards, lock station. Whenever more than one person has to work on locked out equipment, a multiple locking device, sometimes referred to as scissors, must be used so each worker can secure their own safety. Tags are an extra protection and provide vital information, never to substitute for lockout. Blanks are used for piping. Covers are used for connectors and valves. Chains are used for valve handles. Let us now learn more about the lockout procedures. A set of steps is used to lock out specific machines, which requires a list and location of all energy sources, other equipment in the area that must be locked out, special hazards or circumstances. Sequential steps can be checklist format, testing methods, startup. Let us now look at the procedure for tag and lock. The following 6-step procedure should be followed while doing tag and lock. Step 1. Prepare for shutdown of equipment. Step 2. Shut down the equipment. Step 3. Isolate the equipment. Stand on the right hand side of the panel. Use the left hand to pull the breaker. Step 4. Apply lockout and tag devices. Step 5. Control or release stored energy. Step 6. Verify isolation of equipment. Let us now see each step in detail. While preparing for shutdown, you should ask the following questions to yourself. Do you know the machine? It is essential that you understand the machine and the sources of energy well. What kind of energy are we dealing with? More than one type? Identify the types of energy present so as to appropriately handle those. What are the hazards present and what are the controls necessary? Hazards need to be identified and control measures developed or put in place. While shut down the equipment, you should ask the following questions to yourself. Have you advised other workers? Communicate the maintenance need and locking out of equipment to co-workers. Do you know the normal stopping procedure? it is important to shut down the equipment as per the standard operating procedures. While isolate the equipment, you should perform the following tasks. Cut off every source of energy walls, main disconnects, circuit breakers. Do not forget auxiliary power, electrical, secondary steam, hydraulic, pneumatic. Do not forget secondary sources of energy such as backup generators. Remember, pulling the fuse out is not locking out. Tag-out devices provide for additional safety. Attach tag-out devices to isolating devices to prevent someone restoring the energy flow. For controlling stored energy, you should perform the following tasks. Restrain hazardous energy. Make sure parts have stopped turning. Relieve trapped pressure. Install ground wires for charge dissipation. Block or support elevated equipment. Block all secondary sources of energy. While verifying isolation of equipment, you should perform the following tasks. Do not take anything for granted. Double check the steps taken with a checklist. Test before you work. Do it yourself. Don't rely on someone else. We have covered the procedural steps in an LOTO program earlier in this module. Let us now look at the detailed procedural steps and procedures for lockout and tagout. The procedural steps include: Step 1. Identify hazardous energy. Step 2. Communicate. Step 3. Shut down. Step 4. Isolate. Step 5. Apply LOTO device or devices. Step 6. Relieve stored energy. Step 7. Verify. Step 8. Service. Step 9. Inspect. Step 10. Remove LOTO. Step 11. Restart. Step 12. Periodic review. The first step in LOTO involves identifying all forms of potentially hazardous energy associated with the specific machinery or equipment and task at hand. This involves evaluating and understanding all potentially hazardous energy sources. Remember, there may be more than one, including potential magnitude of damage and injuries that each energy source could cause if uncontrolled, and isolation point or points for each type of hazardous energy. Types of energy to consider include electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, thermal, chemical, mechanical, gravity, and radiation energy. The second step is to communicate to all the employees who work on or near machinery or equipment that is the subject of an LOTO procedure. All affected employees who work on or near machinery or equipment that is the subject of an LOTO procedure must be informed of the intent to apply LOTO. They must be advised to refrain from attempts to restart the equipment or machine or other action that may adversely affect safety during the duration of the LOTO. They must be informed of the person who is responsible for the LOTO and the method that will be used to notify them when the LOTO is complete. The third step is to shut down the machine, which is subjected to maintenance and service properly. Shutdown must be conducted using the standard procedures established for the machine or equipment, not emergency procedures or other shortened or simplified method. After shutdown of the machinery or equipment, the next step is to physically locate and operate all energy isolation devices. An energy isolation device is a mechanical device that, when utilized or activated, physically prevents the transmission or release of energy, including but not limited to the following: a manually operated electrical circuit breaker, a disconnect switch, a manually operated switch by which the conductors of a circuit can be disconnected from all ungrounded supply conductors, and in addition, no pole can be operated independently, a line valve, bolted blank flange, and bolted slip blinds. A block, for example, a safety block, or any similar device used to block or isolate energy. Push buttons, selector switches, safety interlocks, and other control circuit type devices are not energy isolation devices. Programmable logic controllers, that is PLCs, are used in many machine applications. These circuit control devices are not considered energy isolating devices for purposes of the LOTO standard. The fifth step is to apply LOTO devices. After applying or activating an energy isolation device, the next step is to apply LOTO devices to every energy isolation device. Tagout devices can be used without the lockout devices only in very limited situations, generally only when an energy isolation device is not capable of being locked out. However, a tagout device cannot replace a lockout device. The sixth step is to relieve stored energy. Following application of LOTO apparatus to all energy isolating devices, all potentially hazardous stored or residual energy must be relieved, disconnected, restrained, or otherwise rendered safe. Stored energy must be relieved in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations or recognized industry standards. The seventh step to take before actually conducting the repair or service work is to verify that the LOTO procedures and devices have effectively isolated and de-energized all energy sources associated with the machinery or equipment. Verification must consider both primary, secondary, and backup stored energy sources. If there is potential for buildup of energy during the service or maintenance or repair, the verification must be ongoing throughout the entire service or maintenance or repair period. Usually, verification must include both visual inspection and physical testing. Visual inspection involves confirmation that switches, valves, breakers, etc. have been properly moved to and secured in the off or safe position. Visual inspection also verifies that LOTO and other protective devices have been applied to the control points in a manner that prevents unsafe movement of the switches or valves. Additionally, a visual inspection is used to verify that isolation has taken place by determining that all motion has stopped and all coasting parts such as flywheels, grinding wheels, saw blades, etc. have come to rest. In the majority of situations, visual inspection techniques must be accompanied by physical testing to ensure that the steps taken to isolate hazardous energy have worked successfully to isolate the energy from the machinery or equipment. Physical tests are conducted with appropriate instruments, for example, voltmeters, combustible gas indicators, bleeder valves, etc., or techniques that is flange braking, and may also involve deliberate attempts to start up the machine or equipment. When an instrument is used as part of the verification process, it must be checked for proper operation before and after being used to check the effectiveness of energy isolation and LOTO. This will ensure that the instrument is reliable. It is also important to maintain the instrument in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. All service maintenance should be conducted only by qualified individuals who are knowledgeable of the machinery or equipment and in accordance with manufacturer's specifications and or industry standards as applicable. After the service or repair work is complete and before LOTO devices are removed and energy is restored to machinery or equipment, the work area must be inspected to ensure that non-essential items have been removed from the machine and operating area. Machinery or equipment components are operationally intact and employees are safely positioned. Once it has been determined through the inspection process that a safe condition exists and guards have been replaced or properly repositioned, LOTO devices may be removed by the authorized employee who placed them. After removal of LOTO, the energy isolating devices can be turned on and the machinery or equipment should be restarted using the appropriate startup sequence and procedures. Supervisors must periodically, at least annually, review written procedures and observe employees performing tasks to verify continued efficacy and employee adherence to LOTO procedures. The documentation of such review should be kept and should include date of review, name of the person conducting the review, identification of the machinery or equipment or procedure that was reviewed, name or names of employee or employees involved in the review, generally the name or names of the employee or employees who were actually implementing the procedure. description of any deficiencies in the procedure or implementation of the procedure and corrective actions taken. The review must include discussion with authorized and affected employees to reinforce each employee's responsibilities relative to the procedure. Let us now see the conditions while removing the lock. No person shall remove the lock on a machine except the person who installed it. In an emergency, where attempts are made to contact the person and this person is not available, or a competent employee designated by the employer. While removing locks and tags, notify affected employees and check and recheck. Let us now look at the frequently done mistakes while implementing lockout and tagout. Misplaced multiple lock device, scissors. Cut off not closed properly. Improperly closed multiple lock. No tag, no lock, or no tag and lock. Lock not closed or key left in the lock, and one lock for several workers. Let us now look at the various causes of injuries while lockout and tagout is not done properly. Failure to completely stop equipment. Failure to disconnect from all power sources. Failure to dissipate residual energy. Accidental restarting of equipment. Failure to clear work area before reactivation. Lack of training and lack of procedures. Let us now look at the common misconceptions regarding the LOTO procedures while doing service of a machinery. It will take longer to lock out than do the repair. It will only take a minute. It's lunchtime, no one is around. The machine is stopped, it must be locked out, and it's okay to do it this way, right? These can lead to injury, fatality, or major damage to equipment and machinery. Just follow the procedure. Let us now look at the startup procedure after LOTO that all workers need to be aware of. Only authorized employee can undertake the startup procedure. Warn everyone present to stay clear. Remove all tools, locks and tags. Remove, reverse, open or reactivate isolating devices. Visually check that all is clear. Startup machine, equipment or process. Take a look at the various flowchart representation of LOTO. Let us now look how following a correct lockout and tagout procedure provides impact to the business. The above process has a huge impact on business in terms of safety parameters and clear information on downtime, which can help in business continuity. Lockout or tagout violations can prove to be very expensive for businesses or companies. An improperly executed lockout tagout program that leads to an accident can have more immediate and lasting effects, from equipment downtime and lowered employee morale to civil lawsuits, workers' compensation claims, and increased insurance rates. It's far too common for businesses to assume that they are compliant when, in fact, they are not, and most common violations that occur are a lack of machine-specific procedures. A commitment to LOTO safety is the key to maintaining an injury-free workplace or even saving lives. A small error in lockout procedure can become a major catastrophe. Shortcuts and negligence can lead to employees' death. Therefore, employee injuries, whether catastrophic, serious, or minor, can negatively impact any business. Risks, including loss of valuable employees, damage to equipment and downtime, production interruption, regulatory inspection, and potential damage to the business reputation due to such events can all be reduced by implementing proper LOTO procedures to control hazardous energy. 10% of all serious workplace injuries are attributed to failure to have an effective LOTO program. Congratulations! You have now completed this e-module on Lockout Tagout Part 2. In this e-module, you learned the following. Understand about LOTO programs. Purpose of documented procedure for LOTO. Compliance with this program. Types of isolating devices. Different equipment used for LOTO. Procedures and precautions for LOTO. Removing a lock. Frequent mistakes. Causes of injuries. Common misconceptions. Startup procedure. Flowchart representation of LOTO. Impact on business.